Podsmashers of the internet, and welcome to another episode of
Bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer. We are your hosts,
Penguin and Termite,
and we are a weekly podcast smashing together the ideas of video games with things that you care about.
Woohoo! Tonight we are drinking as our beer, where gaming goes to grab, we are drinking Shock Top Lemon Shandy.
Blech.
You don't like it?
Nope.
Okay.
You're
drinking it,
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna not. I'm not a beer snob. I'm not gonna turn away a beer, but I think I have higher tastes than this. This is like a bad sour.
Kind of tastes like the Kool-Aid of beers to me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Which I like Kool-Aid, so it's okay.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a little bit like it's both sweet while also being kind of like watered down.
And it tastes kind of
sense.
artificially flavored.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like, it doesn't have really good strong like beer taste either. So it just kind of tastes lemony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it well enough. I think I would like it more on like a hot afternoon, like a cookout or something like that.
That'd be fine, but there's so much better out there.
There is, but I got
even
a nice,
from Shock Top.
But I got
like
a nice,
regular Shock
that's
Top
true.
is better than
Yeah.
this. And when that whole pack you bought, all the beers were awesome except this one.
Except that one.
Yeah. And that's
what
why
I was gonna say. I had a pack of it, and that's why these two are left over.
because they're the last. They're the dregs of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
But it has a little bit of lemon. It's light bodied. It's a Belgian, so it has that like kind of sweet-ish, mild body feel to it that Belgians have that you get from like Blue Moon or Hoegaarden. So it's fine.
Yeah, it was worth it for a pack. I think I got it for like $13.
Yeah,
for like a 12
it's
pack.
Mass produced and distributed, so it's cheap.
So because you guys were like, bring beer to a cookout, and I was like, all right, fine. It was like your first cookout of the year too.
It was
nice.
How about that?
Yeah,
it was a little chilly too.
A little bit,
but we threw the football.
Nice, crisp.
That was fun.
Yeah,
grilled out.
We played Smash.
Then we played Smash,
Double
and
Dash,
Mario Kart Double Dash, where you have become the reigning champion amongst our friend group.
And I will never play it again. Therefore,
So
you'll never be
lose it. Secretly, I've been playing every single day so that I can master the control. No, I believe you. I have not touched it at all.
That's funny. All right, what is going on in the world of gaming news?
Well, there's our topic tonight is actually about one of the biggest things that dropped.
Yeah, so we'll hold off that.
But we'll just tease that. Google Stadia announced a streaming platform that will affect things greatly.
Hopefully it'll affect things greatly. Hopefully I don't know. I've seen a very lukewarm response from the gaming community.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know fully if people understand the implications. But we'll get into it as we get more into this episode.
So that was a big thing.
Just on the onset. I guess I didn't announce explain the topic. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about game streaming in general, like platforms for streaming games and what does that hold for the future. We've hit on it on the podcast before, but we're gonna try to go in depth on it tonight. So
GDC happened. And there's a couple of announcements that mattered. Of course, we just talked about Google's thing. That was a GDC like tentpole. I am completely blanking.
That's
on
fine.
What else was announced at GDC?
I can't imagine.
There was some cool things that I wanted to talk about.
Was there cool things?
Yeah.
I can talk about it.
Here we go. I have to bring it up on the internet because what would we do if we didn't have
smartphones, supercomputers in our pockets?
No, stop.
Clearly,
it's like loading, and then as I'm clicking the link, it pops in new stuff. Drives me crazy.
Know not how to play with computer.
Oh my goodness.
With pocket computer.
Look at this. It's like ads loading and videos popping in. Okay, Cadence of Hyrule. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's the sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer, which looks awesome. And like I didn't even know that game existed. I was almost inspired to go buy that game. But it looks like an indie studio is getting assets from Nintendo,
which is crazy.
Never has happened before. Never. That's insane.
Yeah, it's a new Nintendo.
This solidifies Doomguy and Banjo-Kazooie and Smash more than any move Nintendo has ever made. Yeah. Just the fact that they are offering their highly protected, extremely expensive IP
to a Western
and they're allowing,
indie developer. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So that was pretty sweet.
It's a rhythm game, though?
I don't know. Yes, but not. It's top-down, cartoony-looking, kind of Zelda-y slash thing.
I thought I read something that it's a rhythm. I thought Crypt of the Necrodancer is kind of like a
roguelike rhythm formula. That's what it says, but I don't know what that means. I never played it.
I know what roguelike is. I just don't know what.
Yeah.
It's weird. It'll be interesting to see how it plays.
I love rhythm games.
One way or another, it's going to be the most unique Zelda game.
Yeah.
Probably ever.
I'm probably going to get that.
Nice. All right, do it.
Cuphead announced for the Switch. Again, Microsoft is playing nicely with Nintendo. My reluctance to believe that Banjo is going to be in Smash is continuing to be cracked.
It's
like it was a solid block that the gaming industry is hitting with a hammer, and it's slowly,
right. And they still, I mean, it makes sense they haven't announced any more DLC characters because I wouldn't imagine they would want to announce the next one before one is released.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their pacing is, but you have E3 coming.
I mean, technically, Joker was announced before Piranha Plant was released, but that was that was like an exception.
They announced Joker the night that Smash Brothers came out.
Yeah.
Which is extremely smart.
But it also happened to be the same night as the Video Game Awards.
Right.
So there was an actual event.
But
they announced it at the event, and it just happened to also
They didn't announce it, did they?
They did announce it. Remember? Because we
were streaming it. It was right before Game of the Year.
We were on
Yep. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was a move for the Game Awards popularity exposure or if it was a move strategery. I don't know words. If it was a move that was strategized based on the fact that it's coming out that night.
Yeah.
And like, what better way to get people hyped on release night for a DLC pack than to show off one of the 5 that you're going to get.
Yep.
So that way you
right. They had to kind of
that
maintain,
impulsive.
Yeah, they got to maintain the hype for Smash.
Yeah.
It's starting to kind of. It's not. I still love Smash. Don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as it's not being talked about quite as much. So when Joker comes out and then like a new character is announced,
we know version 3 is coming. They teased that.
Oh,
before
cool.
Version 3 is coming. It said stay tuned for details this spring, and it showed like a big egg.
Nice. I imagine that whatever the next Nintendo Direct after Joker's released is going to be when they announce a new character, and then they'll probably do one at E3, and then after that, I guess some more Nintendo Directs.
Yeah,
maybe the last one they'll announce at the next year's video, or this year's Video Game Awards. So, yeah.
Link's Awakening. That's all that matters.
Maybe it'll be Cuphead's going to be in Smash. Cuphead would be a shoe-in.
I mean, it'd be
a shoe-in for Smash.
It'd be kind of fun.
It'd be awesome. The creator, that's why I came to mind.
He does.
The creator is really wants. So does the creator of Devil May Cry. He really wants Dante
in Smash.
And he said, if you the fans want Dante in Smash, you need to petition Nintendo to get Devil May Cry games on the Switch. And I'm like,
do it.
I want all of that. I want all of that to be to exist. So I just want a game where even if it's in Smash, where Dante and Bayonetta exist in the same game. That's what I want.
That's what everyone.
And if it happens in Smash,
games wants.
Sorry, carry on.
Okay. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is at GDC they announced Quantic Dream's former PlayStation exclusives are coming to PC. That's
interesting.
Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human. And guess where they're going on PC?
Epic
exclusive on Epic Games Store.
Of course they are.
They picked up all that.
I feel like Steam's fighting back now in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously there's the Halo thing, and there's something else that's coming out on Steam. I think it's exclusive to Steam. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. There was something this week that was announced that's coming out on Steam. Whatever, it's fine. I can't remember it off the top of my head, and that's
sweet.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, GDC happened. Those big announcements happened. I was quite surprised to see that. Was Halo Reach announced at GDC, or was that before?
I think it was before. I think we talked about it
last week.
Either last week or the previous week.
Okay.
I think it's been
pretty hyped about that too. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, so that's what's going on in the gaming industry right now.
Cool. Yeah, I don't really have anything.
It fed this whole topic. So
here
we are.
Other than Stadia and what we're going to be talking about tonight, I don't really have anything. The only other thing that I could possibly want to talk about is probably going to be my favorite thing. So why don't we talk about that?
Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
Ooh, I said my favorite thing.
Jerk. It's all about you, isn't it?
It is always about me.
Punk.
This is the Penguin Show featuring Penguin and guest speaker tonight, Termite. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
All right. So do you have a favorite thing, or can I talk about mine? I'm going to talk about mine.
Yeah.
Because it is my show after all.
Hey.
So my favorite thing is, and I know you guys are probably sick of hearing this from me, but we are a
World of Warcraft.
We are a day away.
Zelda.
We are a day. No, the third thing I talk about, Borderlands. We are a day away from PAX East starting, and the Borderlands panel is going to be at 2:00 tomorrow. So it's we as of where we are recording this now, we still do not know anything about Borderlands and are really excited. We don't even know if Borderlands 3 is a thing. However, today, the day before PAX East, Gearbox dropped a teaser trailer that many of you, I'm sure, have seen. If not, we'll link off to it. It's called the teaser itself.
Oh, the Battle Royale announcement.
Shut up. The teaser itself was called Mask of Mayhem, and it was just basically all it really did was show off characters It showed off the 4 characters that
was it 100 characters?
No, it showed off like 4 characters that are pretty sure are going to be the Vault Hunters, the playable characters. It showed off 2 characters that I think are the bad guys based on some of the leaks that came out. A lot of this information is consistent with that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it showed off like a handful of characters. Obviously, Brick, Mordecai, Lilith,
and the most important character. All grown up.
Claptrap.
No.
Oh yeah, Tiny Tina. Yeah,
Yes.
they showed off. So they showed off some returning characters. It's nice just to see returning characters. They showed off in the like people have dissected this thing because they basically it's kind of like the show Black Sails where it's like all this ivory statues of everything and there's like all these details kind of and they all kind of form together to form like a mosaic of this of a like
Psycho
a Psycho Mask.
Yeah.
So obviously Krieg confirmed for, but a lot of the characters, the Vault Hunters from Borderlands 1, no, sorry, not 1, the Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel showed up as like in there as well.
Is it Mordecai and Brick from Borderlands 1?
Yeah, well, obviously the characters from Borderlands 1 because they were established as NPCs in Borderlands 2, but they also have, in pre-sequel they barely touched on some of the characters from Borderlands 2. The Vault Hunters showed up as NPCs. In pre-sequel, this barely. So it's been unconfirmed whether or not they're actually going to have like carry the tradition of having the old playable characters be
around in
NPCs.
The next one.
Yeah, exactly around. But you can see Zero in the corner. You can see someone who looks like Maya with long hair.
Yeah,
the Siren. There's a couple of characters that may be the Vault Hunters. So people have been wondering if the Vault Hunters from 2 and pre-sequel will be characters, and so it's kind of soft confirmed that. I don't know if it.
What about Roland?
Roland's dead. Spoilers.
That was funny because in the Tiny Tina DLC, she refuses to believe it and continues to bring it up. Yeah, and it's funny.
Oh man, so I'm really really hyped. Like I kind of watched the trailer like multiple times. It's cool because they have like a shift code is like hidden in the trailer. And
really?
You can redeem it for a Salvador skin and 5 shift keys or whatever. 5
tomorrow they're dropping 100.
Yep, they're dropping 100 during the live stream.
Man, that's gonna be sweet.
I know. I'm gonna redeem that and just like
I'm excited
about my
most.
characters.
I mean, I know if Borderlands 3 is announced, which I'm assuming it is, I get that, and so the hype is there for it. I'm excited. But what is still a mystery and actually draws more excitement because I don't know a lot about it is what's happening with Borderlands 1.
Right.
Because they have the ESRB rating filed. And so we
I'm
know
sure
it's coming.
Going to be remastered for modern consoles.
Is it going to be a remake or a remaster?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
and I want to know what they're going to do to it because it's bad now, like by today's standards for a shooter.
Yeah,
there's a lot of quality of life silliness that happens. It's drugs, words, drags the players through unnecessary like walking and like bad quest tracking and just like inventory management. They've improved from 1 to 2, and 2 feels dated.
Yeah.
So, quest management, quest logs, how multiplayer like syncs up with each other. You had to redo a lot of stuff. There were quests that were locked out because players would do them out of order, and so like you couldn't get to them, and so it led to kind of bugs. But it was the first of its kind, so it was legendary, it was amazing, and at the time it was awesome.
But they improved significantly
from 1 to 2, but 2 still feels dated, and they improved a little bit more with the pre-sequel, and that still feels dated.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, if it's just a remaster, I still want to play it,
right?
But I hope that they go a little bit farther to like change some of the fundamentals.
Yeah,
and it'd be cool if they like added some of the Borderlands 2 or pre-sequel classes to the first game, like something. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot they could do, and all things considered, like I could talk about my hopes and dreams for Borderlands, but it's going to be announced tomorrow. So
when you're listening to this, you'll be asleep because you already know everything, and we'll be completely proved wrong.
Yep, touche. So, but yeah, I'm hyped because I thought the trailer was cool. I thought the trailer was cool. The teaser was cool because it allowed them to kind of like drop some information without dropping information. Like they confirmed things without confirming things. Like they did confirm that pretty much all the leaked information from months ago was true.
All of it?
Not all of it, but much of it. At least the character designs are consistent with what was leaked.
Yeah.
And the idea of the Calypso twins being the villains that was leaked.
Did we ever link up the Borderlands 2 screenshot that was blurry that they tweeted?
The two theories are either
it's coming to Switch.
It's coming to Switch, which apparently there were talks, like Gearbox was in communication with Nintendo, and then those talks suddenly stopped.
Okay.
So that might not happen. So the only other possibility is something to do with like some kind of DLC which is what a lot of people think is a theory. Because apparently there was some kind of like update. There was some kind of like update to the Borderlands 2 website or something like that. Like more updates coming soon or something. I don't know. I haven't dug into it too much, but I've seen people talk about it on Reddit as if it's a pretty, as if they're pretty confident.
They just let that go. That's if they came out with DLC for Borderlands 2, I'd roll my eyes a little bit.
I would play it. I would absolutely play it. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll know tomorrow, and I'm just really hyped. I'm really excited.
So your favorite thing is the teaser.
To me, Borderlands is kind of like... I am as excited about Borderlands 3 as I was about Smash. I think.
All right.
Yeah, I love Borderlands. I love the Borderlands franchise.
It's fantastic.
And I've loved both of the games that I've played, too, in the pre-sequel, so...
I would hate to know how many hours I've sunk into that game. I own it on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and PS4.
I know.
Like, I have 4 copies of that game.
I know, because Steam counts your hours, and I pulled it up this week and saw that I had, before I started playing, because I was playing a little bit this week, before I started playing again, I had sunk 98 hours into it just on PC.
Wow.
And probably double that with PlayStation at this point. So I've probably sunk like 200 hours into that game, which objectively is probably actually more than I've ever played Smash. Because when I play Smash in just little bursts, I don't play Smash like long stretches at a time. So that's enough about Borderlands. You know, if I keep talking, I'm going to not stop. So my other favorite thing is baby farts.
They're cute.
They're really, I mean, my sons are starting to stink a little bit, but they still don't smell like bad. They just kind of smell like cheese. And, but it's hilarious. So
yeah, their facial expressions that go with it are the best.
Especially because sometimes he'll fart and wake himself up and then start crying. It's so funny. And also like, no, baby, you woke yourself up. No,
go back
you should
to sleep.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. But baby farts are pretty funny. So
that's awesome.
Great.
My favorite thing is cheap video game deals. And I picked up two video games this week. One of them is Fallout 76 for $15.
This was your favorite thing last week.
It could have been, but it continues. This is the sequel. Okay. Because I also picked up
Fallout 76 too.
No, I picked up a copy of Titanfall 2 for $6.
I want to grab that.
Play
that with you.
$6.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon. I don't know if it's still $6, but yeah, it's coming in like hopefully tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah. And
I was like, it's perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah.
$6, I have nothing to lose. So really cheap video game deals are my favorite thing this week. Sweet. Again, part 2.
Baller.
Yes.
Cool.
You know what else is baller?
DLC. Downloadable content is the second segment of our podcast where we have like a fun mini discussion. Sometimes it has something to do with our main topic. Sometimes it doesn't. Tonight's does. And it's going to be more of like, it's more of a fun discussion to get your brain bits. Like get your brain bits thinking. And hopefully it's a conversation around gaming that you've never had before. So since we're talking about streaming, I want to be like, do an imaginative exercise.
Yeah.
So we did this with VR. We talked about like, if you could have like a virtual experience that was something that currently doesn't have a virtual experience.
Yeah.
What would it be? Well, this is the same thing. We're going to take the idea of streaming and apply streaming to something. It could be a technology, or it could just be like a daily activity or a daily product.
So the idea that something is produced or rendered elsewhere and beamed to you.
Exactly. Yes. And apply that to just something. So what's your streaming? What is your stream dreams?
I would like to be able to order parts or furniture for anything. And I say furniture because I'm like looking at a lamp in your room right now, and I'm like, it'd be really cool to like customize that lamp and like make it however I want in like CAD or like a super user friendly version of what Autodesk does for like CAD drawings and like schematics. You just draw your own thing and then you beam it to yourself. Yeah, and now you have that lamp.
Not having to move furniture in general would be awesome. Just
that would be sweet too.
Stream it, like you can customize it, and then from the store, and then you just stream it to the spot in your living room that you want that.
Now you've made me think about you could stream your living space. So it never actually takes up any space. You don't really have a physically grounded spot to live in. It's kind of like an RV, but streamed to you. And it can be anything, anywhere. Yeah. And in fact, Fallout 76 does just that. You have your camp, but you can log into any server, and your camp comes with you. You can turn your camp into a blueprint and just put it somewhere.
Nice.
So it's like you're streaming your living space with you anywhere you want. So it's like, I could just go to Norway. Or where do they film Lord of the Rings?
New Zealand.
And just go to that spot and then plop my house. Yeah. Like boop. Right there. With all of my amenities.
Except without the balloon action.
With none of the physical complications of actually moving it. Just bloop, it's streamed for you because my house exists in the cloud.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's
I kind of want to do that. But in this case, I want to exist in the cloud, and I want to. It's basically just teleportation technology. I want to
beam yourself.
I want to be
everywhere.
Beamed. Yeah,
it is all about you.
I want to be beamed somewhere, 2 places. I want to be streamed somewhere, so I don't have to like travel. Like instead of just like I want to go see my friends in Harrisonburg. I'm just gonna beam myself over there for the night and then beam myself back. That would be cool.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
And would you be able to be streamed multiple times at once, so you could exist in many places at one time?
No, because that starts to get metaphysical.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do want to talk also about the example I gave you to so that you would understand it.
Yeah.
Because I also want this.
Yeah, it sounded pretty awesome.
I want to be able to have Taco Bell streamed to
Boop.
me.
Just right here.
Like on the app, be like, that burrito looks good, but I don't want to have to go get it. I just want them to stream it right to my stomach.
It's almost like Grubhub.
Yeah.
Because they've partnered with Grubhub. You can get Taco Bell delivered.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
But I don't want to wait for it. I just want to be like, all right, Taco Bell. I guess streaming's not really quite the correct term because it's not. It does, when you're streaming something, it's running off of a remote location and then just being
beamed to you.
Yeah, but you're just, it's almost like you're like a window. You're watching.
It's like you're taking a bite of nothing, but then it happens on the other end.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you're not really touching the Taco Bell.
The taco just disappears.
You're just making mimicking bites.
Yeah.
And somehow you get the flavor in your mouth.
Yeah, so I think we literally just, from what we described from our wants, we literally just described like teleportation technology.
Yeah, pretty much.
That doesn't really exist.
And it's not analogous to streaming.
And we called it streaming.
Yeah.
But
it was a fun thought.
It would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's DLC for the day.
DLC.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of baby farts, I just made one. Woo!
I don't smell anything.
But it's not a baby fart. It's
nope.
an adult. It's a big grown man fart.
Are you? You're just shaking your head in silence. Yeah,
I don't know how to respond to
That's good for your cause. Yeah. You're doing great.
Right. Let's talk about streaming now. We're going to have people who just listened to this episode and the first one, and they'll be like, they just talk about poop and farts the entire time.
Oh, I forgot about that. Our episode 0?
Episode 1.
Oh, episode 1. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, episode, title.
We did talk about that, sitting down or standing up.
Funny.
Yep. Yeah, it was funny. Go back and check that out.
Let's not talk about it right now. We're going to talk about
the more people that can hit episode 1, the better.
We're going to talk about streaming.
We're talking about streaming tonight.
All right.
So as we talked about earlier at GDC, Google had a giant press conference. They invited all of the game developers and publishers and spokespeople to their big room in theater and showed off their new thing that they've been hinting at for a while called Google Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
And what is Google Stadia, right? Is that what we're going to say? Is that the first question?
That's not the first question, but that's okay.
Not.
We can still use that as like an overview kind of thing. But
Google Stadia is a streaming service.
A streaming platform.
What is a streaming platform?
What is streaming in general? What does it mean to stream a piece of content? We kind of hit on it in the DLC there where we were talking about it's rendering something somewhere else and then like sending it. Like you're I guess, that's what buffering is, right? You're downloading a little bit at a time and watching it and then it deletes essentially off of. So, literally, most people who live now in the 21st century in 2019 have had YouTube and Netflix for the better part of the last decade, if not the entire last decade.
And music. Napster was, that's downloads. That's not the same thing. I'm sorry. Spotify, Pandora, etc.
Yeah.
Radio,
so
internet.
It's just basically like
internet radio.
It's
internet TV.
It's consuming content without having to have a physical medium. It's entirely digital, like digitally downloaded content, but again, not even completely downloaded either. It's just you load a little bit at a time and then it goes away. Like it doesn't keep a permanent file or anything like that on your computer. So it's just it's really just like having a window into a piece of content that is running on a different server on a different computer.
I think a good description is if you have a DVR at home and your cable is physically plugged into that box and your TV is physically plugged into the DVR. That's what's controlling your cable TV. Is reading in like a streamed signal and it's processing it and shoving it to your TV, but it's happening in your living room. The difference is I have PlayStation Vue as my TV service. It's internet TV.
Yeah.
I can load that onto any smart TV. I can watch any channel. And then at the same time, I could pull my phone out and I could load the PlayStation Vue app and watch the same channel. and it's two different hardware pieces in my house. And then I can also use my PlayStation to fire it up and watch the same thing. So however many devices you have, you could theoretically watch the same show on them. Now, there's like limits to that stuff and whatever. But the point is, the rendering of it, the processing, what's being pushed to your TV is not in your house. It's on the internet.
Yeah, and so it's one thing to talk about that with like what I would call static content.
Yeah, because you're not interacting with it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no input; it's all output.
Right.
So like, same. That applies to music. That applies to
you just listen to it,
movies,
or watch it.
TV shows. Passive. Yep, it's complete. Or even videos on YouTube. It's all just like so. So how could then you take? How then could you take a video game, which also requires input, and also video games are just more intensive, graphically intensive, hardware intensive. Like there's just more of an intense, demanding experience than a movie or a piece of music. How could you apply the idea of streaming, and how is that idea being applied to gaming? Like how is it possible to stream games?
And this is where I use the analogy of like remote desktop.
Yep.
Where you remote desktop into a computer that's doing all of the processing somewhere else, and your inputs are also sent over the internet back to that server. So your controller in your hands, you're pushing all your buttons, all those inputs go back to the server, and then it's processed and sent back to you as the frames update.
Yeah, which is essentially what my company that I work for does, is what we provide. So for our customers, they all basically are just running off of our hardware and are then just segmented into virtualized servers. So servers that are also just made up, and they're also just a piece. The CPU on the server is an arbitrary amount of CPU that exists on it, that physically is just a bigger CPU that we've segmented into smaller bits. And then it's like, here, you can have this much CPU core. And then same thing with hard drive space, and then servers themselves they're all just segmented. So
everything's kind of partitioned.
Partitioned off and then
allocated to that.
Yeah, but then we use a program called Citrix where it basically reads all your inputs and loads a little window up on your computer. So you don't have to have a really powerful computer. In fact, in some cases, you can have what's called a thin client, where all it does is connect to the virtual desktop. And
the whole point of the thin client is just to register your inputs. That's all. It's USB holes and an internet connection. That's all it is.
That's exactly
all
it is.
The USB basic ports allow you to have your keyboard and mouse, and then the internet connection is what connects to the servers.
Yeah. So with gaming, you can do the same thing. You can render the game on a server and then have something on the user end to recognize the inputs and send them to the server, and then the server sends back the game. So all it requires really is an internet connection and
some input.
Whether it's some
a controller
version of input. Mouse, keyboard, or controller.
Phone.
Yeah, and then some application to run it. So in Stadia's case, it would be doable through Google Chrome or Chromecast, depending on whatever.
They'll probably have a Stadia app.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Then, other than Stadia, which we've been talking about a little, and we'll live for the rest of, we'll talk about why Stadia is different, how Stadia is different. But what are some other platforms currently that you can stream games on?
The only one I can think of that's kind of ubiquitous is PlayStation Now.
Yep.
And that's when they bought Gaikai, which was a company that does streaming services. It was exclusive to Sony, and it's Sony's answer to backwards compatibility. So if you want to play PS3 and some PS2 titles on your current PS4, you have to register to the subscription service called PlayStation Now, and everything's rendered on the server, and it runs right to your PS4, and that's how they've done that.
Yep, I used it to play God of War 3.
How was it?
At my sister-in-law Rizzle's house.
Yeah,
and
she used it here to play Red Dead Redemption, right?
Play Ni no Kuni 2.
Ni no Kuni 1.
Yeah, 1.
Yes,
sorry,
because it was a PS3 game.
Yep.
Yep. Good game. Oh,
it's
so good.
Although I think with PlayStation Now you can now download the games too directly to the hard drive. Some of them, yeah. So I think that's how she played Ni no Kuni. I don't think she played it over our internet. I played God of War over her internet. Other than a few moments where it kind of dipped out and like lagged.
Yeah.
And it really was early on. I feel like by the time I got through the game, it was running much faster.
Okay.
So it was right after my niece was born, so there really wasn't, like, my wife and sister-in-law were all they were just like fawning over her little baby.
Yeah.
So I was kind of bored the entire, like, I was like, and they were like, you can absolutely just play our PlayStation. I was like, all right. So I literally beat God of War the entire, like, we were there for like a week.
Dang.
I literally beat it over the course of that week.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I barely noticed I was streaming it at all. So
wow.
It works well, but you'll hear the running theme of tonight's episode. It works well with a strong, stable internet connection.
Yeah.
If you've got a strong, stable internet connection, it works wonderfully. It works as well as streaming a movie on Netflix, or like having multiple people streaming movies on Netflix.
It felt responsive. It felt like you were actually playing it in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah. So
wow, that's impressive. I've heard lots of bad things about PlayStation Now, and I've never used the service. And I thought it was kind of pricey.
Yeah,
so
it's pricey for. Oh yeah, I don't think I would pay for it.
If I didn't have a room full of PlayStation 2 and PS3 games, I would probably be more inclined to buy it. But because I have every game that I can't say every game I want, but I have most of what I remember, nostalgia, feels, and kind of the definitive titles for each of those consoles in my house physically, I would just go play them on those consoles. But that's me, and not everyone's like me with the physical thing. So
Xbox doesn't currently. Microsoft doesn't.
No, they've announced it at E3. They have the Project Extreme. I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And they've showed off their Azure servers, their supercomputers, and they've said more to come later. And then there's lots and lots of rumors about their next consoles having different SKUs, and some of them not having disk drives. Then this newest rumor about the diskless Xbox One current gen, where it's just digital downloads. That's not streaming, it's just downloading. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff Microsoft has been doing. We've talked about it on the podcast as it's happened.
Yeah.
Microsoft is amassing, I think what Google showed off was what Microsoft was going to show off. And so
Google
they beat them
stole
to the
their
punch.
thunder. Yep.
So they're working on that, and we'll know more at E3 this year.
Yeah, Microsoft, it's funny because I think that of the major actual game companies that exist now, Microsoft is the only one that could have pulled something competitive like that off, in comparison to Google, is because Sony doesn't really have a computing.
Right.
I mean, they were an audio, a sound,
audio, video,
music, TVs,
exactly,
and they have. Sony is a huge company, but like of all the things that they make and all the things that they make freaking movies.
Yeah.
For goodness sake, but they don't make computers, and they don't do this kind of stuff.
They did make computers. Remember the Vaio? The Sony Vaio? It was a desktop computer,
Lord,
and laptops
hilarious.
too. Yeah,
yeah. They, but I mean, they're not known for their computing prowess. Microsoft, absolutely, that's where they made their fortune.
Well, yeah,
so.
Windows.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft.
Yeah, Windows, exactly. Yeah,
like the standard operating system across the world
for business. Yeah, for business for sure.
Yeah,
yeah. So they just have the weight to throw into it.
Yeah.
There's a couple in the research I did around Stadia. There were some other. There are some other like third-party streaming platforms that do exist now.
Yeah. Do you remember OnLive?
No.
It was this old. It was I think it was PS3, Xbox 360 era. At some point, there was this little box you could buy. It was PC centered, but it's called OnLive. And the problem with it was you had to buy every game at full retail value. So if a game had been like 3 years old, and you could probably get it on a current console for like $20, you had to pay the full retail of when it came out, which was $60. So it was kind of pricey. Yeah. And of course it was based on like old technology, and so it wasn't really good. It flopped. It did. But that was like one of the first like
attempts
at this whole streaming thing. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is so what's the big deal about Stadia? So Google announced Stadia. Why is this announcement important? Why even spend a podcast talking about it? Like, because up to this point, up to 2019, the idea of streaming has been very hit or miss when it comes to games. Like, it's one thing to stream movies, it's one thing to stream music, it's a whole nother thing to stream games, and thus far, it's been pretty hard. It's been pretty hit or miss. So, what is it about Stadia that is impressive to us?
I'm going to take a few steps back in time.
Okay.
Think about when the Xbox One was announced and the PS4 was announced. The Xbox One had its foot on the idea of no disk drive.
Yep, a download.
All digital.
DRM. Yeah, DRM only.
Always online all the time. And the fans spoke in volumes by not buying it.
Yeah.
Right? So it was too early.
Oh, the old days of 2012? Was that when that was announced?
Actually, because the consoles came out in 2013.
Yep.
Fast forward to today, where every single month, even, digital media is increasing in sales. Increasing in sales. And physical sales are dropping. So everything, if you look at a pie chart, the pie is increasing on the digital side of this percentage of games being sold.
Yeah, because no other medium do we still In no other medium do I still buy physical copies of things. I don't buy DVDs anymore. I don't buy Blu-rays. I don't buy CDs for music.
Right.
Everything else, it's like, why not go digital? Now, obviously, I have my reasons, but still.
We could do a whole episode on that alone.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is just setting context and groundwork for where we're at today. And there's been lots of talks, like I said, On Live started that whole thing, and then now we have PlayStation Now coming out and doing the whole streaming thing. And they've been quiet, making that service better and better. But it's always been this whole, like, there's a stigma attached to
taboo,
it. Yeah, it's like, it's not ideal. I'd rather have the disc and controller in my. I know that I have. Some people are so much that they want it wired, like they want wired controllers.
I
because
want
of input lag.
I want it rendered
now,
right here on my machine,
and I want the best experience
to render games on. Yeah,
the best sound, the best videos, the best feedback. But because of the increasing digital market and looking ahead to the future, and internet infrastructure across the world is increasing every year. It's always getting better. Cell phone technology is getting better every year.
5G is about to come out, which should have up to 100 megabyte per second download speeds.
Is like your house Wi-Fi, which is insane.
Yeah, and it's going to be...
We'll talk about the future later. I'm just trying to set the groundwork for why this is important now, because this is the first actual step into the future. And Google's doing this. So they announced Stadia. What is Stadia? They've named it this because Stadia is the plural for stadium.
Okay.
And
I didn't know why they named it that. So that's
and
cool.
so their vision, they had this in the little intro video, was we spend lots of time in stadiums watching sporting events where you have all the fans and all the players and they're all interacting in this giant world, like stadium and of sporting events. Well, we kind of do that now with Twitch streaming and YouTube. We have chat. Every group of people, hundreds of thousands of people are watching individuals play games together. We're watching esports. Like, in the gaming world, this is happening. So they want this vision. They want to expand on that. They want to provide the experience of a stadium, but multiple stadiums happening at the same instances of stadiums. So Stadia.
Yeah, it's funny because I just realized with you bringing up Twitch that the title of our episode, The Future of Game Streaming, could have two meanings. It could mean streaming of games, like the playing of games. It could also mean streaming of watching of games.
Yeah, right.
I just literally put that together. Yep. So if you came into this episode thinking we were going to be talking about like streaming games, like, oh, I'm streaming a game to you to watch. Like, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not talking about Twitch streaming.
We're talking about the method, the platform upon which you play games is...
But thank you for reminding me of that extremely important piece of idea for context, why this matters. Because Twitch is ridiculously popular.
Yeah, super popular.
And there's an entire generation that's younger than us that spends more time watching people play games than actually playing games.
Yeah, our friend Jeremy, shout out Jeremy, his son, Joshua, shout out Joshua. I talked to him like, so you been playing any games recently? No, I've been watching people play games.
Yeah.
I want to kill you.
Yep. So it's lucrative. People are monetizing it. There's tipping systems in place. There's ad money going around. You can actually make a living Twitch streaming and podcasting. Hit us up. Hey, so Google Stadia, it comes out. They've announced what this is. There was a previous beta test of this whole service where you could play Assassin's Creed Odyssey for free through a Chrome browser and on any computer, any device that has Chrome except for cell phones. It had to be a laptop or a computer. Yep. So I tested on my wife's Microsoft Surface.
Project Stream.
And
I think we talked about it, didn't we?
We did. Yep. And it was awesome. It worked flawlessly. And I had a 1080p image that matched the screen resolution and input lag was minimal. It was awesome. It felt like I was actually playing it on the computer, but the fans were quiet. I was like, this is really strange because usually when it's processing a game, it's like you hear the fans kick on and it's like gets hot and none of that happened. It's like I was just reading an article.
Yeah.
But so it's legendary. So they've announced that they have this massive, they're using the same data centers that they already use for search results, which give you pages and pages of results in like 0.1 seconds, which is insane. They've talked about a proprietary GPU that they've partnered with, I think, AMD to make, and they're going to scale up the hardware. They've told the crowd that you come up with the ideas and we'll scale the hardware to match it, which is unprecedented.
Yeah.
Every single time there's a video game made, you have to know what platform you're developing it for.
Right.
And you need to know its limitations so that you can make your game.
Yeah,
this is the opposite.
To give the kind of layman's perspective, because Termite is great at sort of laying out like the technical background. Like, the basic understanding of this is like they've made a giant warehouse full of computers that are going to process your games now. So what this...
Well, they're building it on the backbone of the servers they've been building forever.
Exactly.
Since
so,
like the 90s.
So they already have these servers,
right.
and they're taking their giant servers full of all their computers. They're slotting some pretty sick GPUs into it, graphics processing cards, and those are what's going to play your games, and then they'll just stream it to you. So so what Termite's getting at here is like right now when developers have to make a game, they are limited by the hardware that the game's going to run on. So they're limited by, okay, an Xbox can only go so fast.
Yep.
An Xbox can only process so powerful because of the limitations of the box itself. Now you'll be doing it on Google's giant servers. So if they have to make a game that is graphically intensive, they don't have a limit really anymore. They don't have a ceiling.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no more box in your house.
Yep.
So it's gaming is not in a box anymore.
Yep.
They can do this through a Chromecast attached to your TV, which is a tiny little dongle, or you can do it through your Chrome browser on your computer, or you can hook up a controller to your phone and use your phone as a screen through its browser.
Crazy.
So you can game anywhere you want. Like it's kind of like the spiritual successor to the Switch.
Yeah,
like
they did what do they do? The processor, is it teraflops? Is that a processor?
Yeah, it's floating point operations per second. So FLOPS flops. And it's a number that's basically it tells you how fast the processor can do things. It's a performance figure.
And they showed their teraflops or whatever, and it was like 10.7 or something like that.
Where the Xbox One X, I believe, is 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's the next closest.
Yeah, so it's almost double that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they said that, because the hardware can scale, and at any point they can just
throw more
to it.
Hardware at it. Yeah, so exactly.
I guess they mean like now, at this moment, when it launches this year. They have that kind of processing power. And the reason why I guess they throw that out there is because they've promised 4K at 60 frames per second. Yeah. And that's insane. Like, it takes a $5,000 computer to make that happen.
Yeah. And now you'd be able to do it on your Chrome browser.
Yeah. And now you can just do it from your phone.
Yeah.
Like, we'll have 4K at 60 frames per second. So they also introduced this new idea, because everything is rendered on the cloud in the server. You can watch, say, a trailer for a game that's already out. And at any point during that trailer, you can press the Play Now button, and it'll open up a new tab, and you're in the game.
Yeah,
like,
you don't
right
need to,
now.
Yeah, because
there's no downloads, there's no patching, there's no loading,
which is something that we've never had that experience before ever with gaming, because there's always been some barrier between you and playing the game, and it's either I have to download it to my computer, I have to
update my drivers,
or I have to drive to the freaking store and buy, back when we were kids, like, so people always talk, I miss the good old days when I could just plug a game in and it runs automatically. That's fair.
Yeah.
You still drive to the store to pick it up, or beg your parents to drive you to the store to pick it up. So there's always some barrier between the desire to play a game and the playing of it. Now, theoretically, click the button and you're in. Right. Which I don't think, other than like browser games, there are games that just run off your browser. Like, other than that, I don't think there's any comparable experience like that we've had thus far in that regard. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, you won't have to download games anymore to your machine, because it doesn't exist on your machine.
They're always downloaded.
All you need is
cloud.
pay money. You hit the checkout button, and then you get a flag on your
that
account
was the thing
that lets you in.
They didn't really get into with the demo, and I understand why, because they were trying to show off the power of what you could do.
Right,
click play now and you're in.
Yeah,
but really, there's going to be like a pay thing or a demo thing or some sort of user agreement. Like, I don't know. There's going to be some sort of like click through a couple of buttons before you actually get in. But no disc, no download, no patching, no drivers.
As you pointed out to me, because I was talking to you too, I was like, why are they talking about things like price? And you were like, it's the game developer conference, not the game consumer. It's not E3. It's not. It's not time to talk about the consumer
side of it. Yeah, this is all about the developers and what they can possibly do
from a development standpoint. So, I mean, they showed off some cool things. Like, they showed off things like you could have multiple views. You could see what your partner's doing in like a PI, like a picture in picture. And like, they were basically saying, like, with this technology, you could have an entire role in like an esports competition where you have someone who just sees all the screens and can like ping things for the players. So you basically could have like esports could now have coaches who basically like coach their players to doing things, and that's their entire role. They don't actually play the game, they just see a bird's eye view and are like coaching the players, telling them where to go and telling them like what to do.
And it's not an overlay, it's actually in the game.
It's in the game,
And then they've talked about, because everything is rendered in the cloud, no single individual has the code on their device. So it's not on your phone, it's not in a box, it's not on your TV. It's all in the cloud, it's all in one spot. It's all singular. They've said no hacking and no cheating can happen because it's all controlled. And that's like an implication I didn't really think of till they said it. I was like, oh yeah, it's there.
Yep.
They've also talked about an infinite scalability of multiplayer, which makes me think of, like Battle Royale today. It's super popular. Imagine what you could do if it's all rendered in one spot and everyone's connecting. You'd have like 1,000-player Battle Royale modes.
Yep.
But then you can also, what Microsoft and it's again that context of how Microsoft has changed and their message has been this way since 2012. When they first announced Crackdown 3, they said completely, fully destructible environments because of the power of the cloud. And at the time, no one knew what that meant. It didn't make any sense at all. But now it makes perfect sense because all of the code is rendered in one spot and pushed out to the screens of the clients that are connecting. You really can have destructible environments.
Yep.
Battlefield 4 kind of hinted when it first came out about this levolution. And that was a very scripted level change. Like a skyscraper would collapse, or like an ocean would flood and a ship would crash. And now that ship would be tipped over and sinking. Those kinds of things, big waves and storms would happen. But that was all very scripted based on like conquest mode. Conquest mode is where you can capture points on a map. So say, point B got captured 10 times. Okay, this skyscraper's coming down. And it happened at the same time for everybody. So it made sense. This is now the ability to be able to do that real time. So it's not a scripted event. It's someone on the other side that's not actually playing, like the coach that's coming in. It's like, I want this mountain to erupt. Boom. Now you have lava and like fire and fog and smoke and all this stuff everywhere. It completely changes the game for everyone, and it's unscripted. It can happen at any time. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Have rocket launchers drill through the ground. Like, a fully realized version of what Red Faction tried to do.
Yeah.
But it's all there. So they kind of showed tidbits of what that possibility is through a different multiplayer experience where everyone had a different view. I think it was the one you were hinting at with the picture-in-picture. It was a puzzle game, and they were like solving what looked like a Rubik's Cube thing.
Yeah.
And they showed Nintendo sort of started to do this too with the Wii U. If you remember, there was the screen and the tablet screen, and there was multiplayer where you have like 5 people, and the person with the tablet had a different role.
Yeah.
Nintendo Land did this. There was a Luigi's Mansion thing where like the person on the tablet could see the whole map, but the people on the screen had a fog of war. And so they were navigating a mansion. It was pitch dark, and the person on the tablet had an advantage, and then the people that are working against them, it's 4 versus 1 kind of mentality, like the asynchronous multiplayer stuff. So now we have that, like, fully realized.
Yeah.
So we've seen tidbits of this throughout the gaming industry. It's all coming together now, and because it's shown off at this time with the context I just laid out for you, it's clicking and it's making sense. So that's Google Stadia, everyone.
So what are some possible advantages and possible disadvantages of playing games like this on a platform like this?
So then you think about internet, like we talked about the internet infrastructure. It's completely tied to that. With bad internet, you have a bad experience. It's not going to work.
Yep.
And how good is everyone's internet really today?
Yeah, really, it's just people in the cities. Granted, most of the population are people in the cities,
right?
But only people in the cities have. Rural areas right now are just this entire idea would be completely impossible, much less like.
And there was an interview with the Patrick Sutherland comes in my head, but it may or not be him. You can correct me if I'm wrong. He was in an interview with Jason Schreier for Kotaku, and he talked about you need at least a 25 megabit connection or better to get the 1080p at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And they said,
I even remember with Project Stream, there were points where, I never had the frame rates drop, but I would definitely see the resolution would
it would just drop.
It would be like, ooh, this.
And YouTube does the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
The videos get fuzzy. Yeah.
The advantages. Obviously, the advantages are a lot of what we talked about. Like, there's a lot more that developers can do in the games, make them really cool. Disadvantages, though. I had I think I just sort of brought it up on Facebook, and I had a friend, David. So. Shout out David Adams if you ever listen to this.
Thank you.
Your comments were super valuable and helpful in helping me frame and contextualize. But he was talking about how there's, if you're talking about the highest end experience, if you're talking about the like Twitch reaction competitive experience, that streaming, it might literally be physically impossible for you to have perfect like reaction time because there's still a physical process of like the input still has to go to somewhere and then
even at the fastest
come back. There's still
latency.
Yeah, there's still some kind of latency. And granted, Google did kind of address that with the fact that the controller.
Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about the controller.
Yeah, so they have a Stadia controller that will connect to the actual server.
Right.
And so your inputs will be read and then. But there's still a transmission time. So even in that regard, there is still some minuscule transmission time, which could in a high high-speed competitive environment could mean the difference between success and failure and whatever you're trying to accomplish. I mean, there is a reason why people, you may think it's superstition, but there's a reason why competitive Smash players prefer to use analog plug into the
wired controllers.
Yep. Because as fun as the Wavebird is, and as awesome as the Wavebird is, all things considered, it's... So there's a question as to whether or not, like, will high-end competitive players embrace streaming? Will high-end competitive players, or is it literally going to be something that's quote-unquote only for the casuals? Because will, something that's being rendered on the computer or on the machine that you are playing it on is always going to be faster because there's less input travel time.
Right.
So
it's just like Blu-rays are objectively the best way to watch a movie. Like the best sound and the best visual quality comes out of a Blu-ray disc that's rendered.
Which is why I think on Facebook
locally.
the statement that I made was I compared it to DVDs or Blu-rays, if you... I mean, Blu-rays are essentially just DVDs, advanced versions of DVDs. So in the same way that, like, yeah, there are still people who buy DVDs, there are still people who buy Blu-rays for that exact experience that you're talking about.
Right.
There are still people who buy vinyl for the music because they think the sound quality is better.
Right.
It's still sort of seen as a technology that's kind of antiquated, and it's not something that people are like...
It's not the masses.
Exactly.
It's the hardcore.
It's not
it's the niche.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think yes.
Like, my wife tries to get me to rent stuff on demand all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I will Redbox it because it's better on Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I think that's more or less I think that comparison works for video games because, like, so in David's case, yes, he's right. I think that the top end competitive, like, esports will still be rendered. Esports probably won't be streamed unless it absolutely has to be because that's what the way the game was designed for.
Yep.
Like, I think esports will still be, like, you'll have physical, like, or they'll have the servers that render the game physically there for the input, for that exact input reason. So I do think that's a fair point, but I think that, I mean, he even said, like, it's something that, like, as long as casuals, most people who play video games are casual players. So there's still a lot of money that could be made by a platform like this. So,
yeah, it's interesting because even though what you just said, having the box physically there, the moment you have a physical thing present, you immediately limited the developers.
Yep.
Because if you want to make an esports game, it's got to be able to run at this specification with, okay, we're going to get 3 servers in a room. Okay, well, it needs to run perfectly with at least 3 because we have to travel with 3 servers to put it in the stadium to get all the esports people to hook up into wired. Anyway, that's just an implication.
Well, yeah. I mean, and what you were talking about with in regards to, like, live updates of games, like again, the layman explanation of that is, like, right now, if they want to send out updates to, let's use the example of Anthem because it's fresh on my mind. If they want to update Anthem, they have to push out that code to all the boxes that Anthem's installed on.
You have to patch it.
Yeah.
And it's online all the time, which means everyone who plays has to have the patch. You can't play it without it.
Yeah. So, whereas with this, it's like, they'll be able to push the code out to their computers.
Right.
And
no one's got to do anything.
You don't have to download anything to your thing, so it could happen
you might have to log out and log back in.
I was going to say, they might have to reset the server.
Yeah.
Like, they might have to be like, okay, because we have to do that with our company. Like, we have to reboot the server for any changes, but...
And restart the game.
Yeah. So, from the user perspective, they still might do that. So, it might not be like, now there's this new thing, like, this new raid's available while you're playing it. Like,
they could. I mean,
yeah, I don't know how they physically be able to do that, but it's still, that kind of thing is more possible because you don't have to push the code out to a bunch of individual boxes.
Right.
You just have to push the code out to your server, your data center, and then have it replicate across all of them, which is something that could happen
instantly.
Yeah. So, cool. I know you want to spend time here. So, I wish I could have given you more time, but you have a good, 15 minutes maybe if we go a little bit longer. What does this kind of technology imply for the future?
This is a paradigm shift in gaming and thinking about gaming, period. Think about what the Nintendo Switch has done to modern gaming. We now have a console that's on the go. It renders, you can dock it, it's on your TV, you can take it with you, no hiccups, just pull it off the docking station. Well, now you have every device with a screen is that. It works with every single controller. There's no longer a physical box in your house. Think about the research, the development, the time and the money spent planning and designing and manufacturing, packaging, shipping, marketing, PR, and distribution of a console. It is insane. Every single company always takes a loss on the hardware so that they can get an install base to make money on the software. Yep. It's a normal thing. That's what every one of these companies do. Yep. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, PC makers too.
Bye hardware.
So if you this is legitimately ridiculously tantalizing offer for any company who wants to develop a game because you no longer have to limit yourself to a box.
Yep.
So they're gone. Like, I think the next generation of consoles is the last one.
Yep.
We'll see
so you're
PS5.
saying the PS5 and the Xbox Next, whatever
the
that's
Xbox Next will already be a streaming
Next
thing
box,
with their project streaming. So Sony is really the only mystery. And Nintendo has proven that the Switch can stream Resident Evil 7 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey in Japan. So I think they've got something going on.
Yeah.
Google, obviously, it came out of nowhere, so now we have a fourth person entering the field, which is exciting in and of itself.
Yeah,
much
they've even,
like Microsoft.
and part of this announcement too, as sort of a side note, Google's got a whole wing that's going to be developing exclusive games.
Right.
Whether those exclusive games will be any good or not, only time will tell.
Right.
But they're doing it. They're trying to enter because they also understand a running theme of the past year has been exclusives is what win wars, I guess. So PlayStation's dominance is due to its exclusivity of titles, and then Epic is also entering that by trying to gain PC exclusives with against Steam. So exclusives are a very powerful motivator for consumers. So if Google can make their own exclusive titles that are any good, it's going to go a long way to making their platform attractive to consumers.
Right.
So,
and then you think about like a controller and how a controller is built. If you don't have a box that you're limiting yourself to, you can make any controller. Because Google Stadia has promised that any Bluetooth controller would work. Me could start a company manufacturing controllers that looked like Joy-Cons. Obviously not violating copyright and patent laws, but something like that someone could slide onto any phone or tablet, and now they've got their own pseudo Switch.
Yeah, not to mention the implications that very thing has to people who have handicaps, like people who need special. And
Microsoft is doing that too.
Yeah,
with their accessibility controller.
Yep.
It's amazing. So just the idea that we no longer need to have the box in our house to render or do anything, that alone is a paradigm shift. And then the next aspect of that, gone. My brain just dropped.
Talk about the development, like the way games can be developed now, probably, right?
Wow,
you're killing me, Smalls.
I know, right? You have to
Here, I got you. I'll buy you some time. Something that's important for this whole thing, though, something that's crucial for the success and failure of this whole idea, will be the release of 5G. Right now, 5G technology exists. Cell phone towers are capable of providing a large area with download speeds of up to 100 megabytes per second via 5G. They're capable of it. The technology exists. It's being held up by the FCC right now.
Right.
And it's being lobbied against by companies such as Comcast and Time Warner for obvious reasons, because if 5G can give you speeds comparable to broadband in your, everywhere, out and about, then there's no reason why you need to have broadband anymore in your home.
Which changes the ISP landscape. Verizon, Cox, Comcast, whatever is providing you with internet. And that's not a cell phone service.
Yep. And then
that's going to change.
Yeah. So exactly. So the theory is that when 5G drops and has surpassed broadband, then anywhere and everywhere, obviously that you have good cell phone reception, because that's the limiting factor at that point. The hardware limiting factor becomes cell phone towers. But Facebook's experimenting with their little planes that'll fly around, little drones, gliders that will beam cell phone service like 5G to rural areas. So there's all kinds of possibilities. Nevertheless, so the limitations may drop and dip and go away, but nevertheless, the general idea is most places have pretty decent cell phone coverage area. Yeah. And when 5G launches, then you're going to have broadband comparable speeds out and about. So
everywhere. Walking down the street.
Why have cable anymore? Why pay those? Why go through Comcast's bullcrap?
That's what I'm saying. The ISPs will then have to compete with cell phone companies, and that'll change the landscape of everything.
So you could feasibly cut the cord. So when that happens, then this whole idea of streaming becomes much more feasible. Because again, as we said, it all boils down to your internet connection. Right. And if you have a strong internet connection, you can stream 4K resolution, 60 frames per second through your Chrome browser. Yeah. So, and like the article said, all you really need is about 25 megabytes per second. So 100 megabytes per second. Think about what you could do. Megabits. Yeah, megabits per second. That's what's offered through 5G. So that is almost quadruple the amount of speed that you would even need to do this in the first place. So
yeah, they said for 4K you need 35.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
or 30 or something.
100 is still plenty.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the possibilities of 5G coming out in the next 3 years makes this whole thing even more feasible. So crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't remember that middle point that I was going to make, but I'm going to jump into this one. And this one is the VR implications.
Yeah.
We saw Ready Player One. Everyone's got these thin little glass shaped things, and everyone's like, how in the world is a world like Oasis rendered through a tiny piece of vision eyewear, when my VR is this massive bulky thing on my face with all of these wires tied to a $5,000 gaming computer so that I don't throw up, right? So you have everything rendered on the server with a 5G infrastructure. You can just walk down your street and you'll have the world augmented to your life. If you can think about just augmented reality and virtual reality, it's two different things that I'm thinking of at the same time here. But virtual reality for gaming, for visual experiences, for the ease of use, completely wireless. All you need is the inputs being sent back to the server, which they can do through gyro. What's that called? Gyroscope.
Yep.
And like maybe some sort of touch Joy-Con-ish type of controllers that you would just carry with you. And then you think about augmented reality.
Or even haptic gloves of some kind.
Remember,
glove on
just like Ready Player One.
Yep.
And then remember Google Glass?
Yep.
It augmented the world that you see with the camera, and like you could overlay a GPS walker tracker when you're walking down the street, or like you see a poster for something, you can just look at it and say, hey Google, remind me of that concert, and it adds it to your calendar, and like notifications, reminders, weather, etc. And you can just go crazy.
Yeah, that failed thing that sucked at the time.
Yeah.
Well, now it
could be, the future implications.
Basically, it's like everyone's going to have. It's going to be basically the new. It could possibly be basically the new cell phone. Like everyone has it, everyone uses it.
Yep.
Everyone could. And you could like. The more you scale up the technological possibilities, the more crazy it gets. Like, think about it in regards to, like, soon the glasses themselves are too bulky, and now you've just got contacts that are basically doing it all for you right there. You stick them, pop them in your eyes every day, and then, boom, you've got it.
Yeah.
Think about, and then it gets even, like, and if you scale it up even further, you have brain chip. They stick a chip in your brain, and it just, like, gives you the right inputs, triggers
cell
right into your...
Cell phones could drop in price because you no longer need processors in your cell phones. All you need is a touch screen and a screen.
Yep. Well, you don't even need the cell phone anymore. You don't need something you hold in your hand if it renders directly to your brain.
Right.
So, that's super far in the future. Right. I know I've talked about that before.
So, this is brainstorming about the implications of all of this. Yeah. And we started with streaming video games. Now we're talking about brain implants. But anyway, so
that could be
rewinding all of that back
that
in.
VR, yeah.
The gaming implications on the developer side of this, we've talked loosely about before with like destructible environments and stuff in multiplayer games, but also having a developer company, a studio that's not bound by any hardware limitations at all. That can come up with any idea on the face of the earth to play a video game with in their brains, in the depth of their creative minds, and they can make it happen. And the Google platform, the servers would just scale up to match whatever they need. Whatever you need.
Yep.
They'll spare no expense. It goes into the question of like exclusivity and how that is, because if you have a game that's that powerful, it has to be exclusive on Google's servers, because no box in your house would render it because it's too technologically powerful. And so I think that's why another reason why they came out with that 10 teraflops figure was to kind of give us a general aspect of where they're at now and what their processors are capable of rendering, etc. Imagine like super computing environments like Disney Pixar-esque quality of games, like coming out of nowhere, because now they can do that.
I think it'll be interesting short-term future. It'll be interesting to see how, like, what is Microsoft? Because, like you said, it seems like Google might have stolen Microsoft's thunder. It seems like this is something that Microsoft was going to unveil at E3 this year.
And they probably still will. They'll change their message. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out in regards to, because now you might... if consoles go away, if PlayStation 5 is the last video game console that Sony makes,
right.
if this next generation that we're about to enter into is the last one, and let's say 2025 is the dawn of the new platforms, which are all streaming, 100% streaming platforms. It'll be interesting to see how the companies shake out. Could this potentially be the last hurrah for Sony because they don't have the infrastructure to compete?
Right.
Will then Sony ally themselves with Google? If Microsoft's doing their thing,
take leases or agreements,
because
sort of
that's going to
licensing.
be that. If this thing takes off, and if this really is the shifted paradigm, the new paradigm, the whole new world. If we're riding our magic carpet into this whole new world, Aladdin metaphor. then what are going to, now it's going to be the platform, the streaming platform that you buy. And I'll use the comparison of, are you going to play games on Netflix or are you going to play games on Hulu?
Right.
Because that's where your exclusives are going to lie.
Yep.
It's going to be whatever Microsoft's service is called, or what's it called?
Right now it's like Project Xtreme.
Xtreme, yeah. So, so it's like, here are the Xtreme exclusives and here are the Stadia exclusives.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo's going to always do its own thing. But, Nintendo will never die. But
right.
yeah, so that potentially is what the future we're going to be looking at is you're going to pay, maybe you buy both. But maybe gaming becomes way cheaper because, theoretically it's like, oh, I would pay $50. I would pay $50 a month for a platform that I got unlimited games on, and exclusive titles too. And then, maybe I'll drop another $50 for Microsoft's competing platform, So it's like, instead of having to drop
$60 at a time.
$60 at a time for games, and of course buying the hardware up front.
And sometimes the internet subscriptions like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold Live. Xbox Live Gold. Think about what if they decide to do a YouTube-esque where it's all free with ads.
Oh my gosh.
So now you just get bombarded with all the ads for the microtransactions and everything's free. Yeah, it sounds gross, doesn't it? But it's a possibility.
It's possible. Yep, it's doable.
Because that's what we do with movies.
Yep. Crazy.
Even Hulu's a paid service and has ads.
And has ads. Yeah.
Which is silly. They should change that.
You can buy the no ad version for $2 extra a month or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's so many different ways to think about the pricing. Is it going to be a free platform that you can pay monthly and get access to a bunch of stuff? Or is it going to be a free platform where you can buy piecemeal what you want, maybe rent even for a limited amount of time? Is it a combination of all of that?
Yeah. Like I imagine it could be something like Steam where it's like the platform itself is free, but you buy games off of it and sometimes they have cool deals.
Right.
Or like you said, or it could be more like Game Pass is or PlayStation Now where you pay a monthly service
and you get all of it.
And you get all of it. Yeah. All the games you can play in a month. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of implications. Did you possibly remember your middle point?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine. Know. Then,
but the future of gaming has forever changed by this announcement, and I've articulated
we're
why
at that weird paradigm shift. It's right there at the end of the decade too. So going into the new decade, I think we'll see. I think you're right that we'll see a lot of changes in the next 10 years. In the next, but when we get to 2029 and are having our decade review of in our podcast that will still totally be around.
The last big,
we'll be able to look back and say, "Wow, man, we were there when that happened, when that shift happened, and we were talking about it at the time." So it'll be interesting to see if it gets embraced, if streaming gets embraced, which I think it will. I think
it absolutely will.
I think Stadia. I think the possibilities there, what they're going to be able to do, will outweigh the disadvantages.
The appeal of not having to research and manufacture hardware and maintain it, and customer service and warranties and all that.
Yep.
All you gotta do is have a data center.
Yep.
Which I guess could be crazy expensive. So maybe I just gave myself a counterpoint. Anyways,
what we want to hear your counterpoints. We want to hear your thoughts or supportive points, whatever you call those.
Yeah, this isn't really like who's for it or against it. We're just kind of talking about
definitely and there's
what's going to happen.
And there's things you
either
gaps.
like it or
exactly.
You don't.
There's gaps that we aren't thinking about.
Right.
I can say for myself, I'm not the most technically savvy person in the world, so. We want to hear your thoughts too. If you're sitting there and you're like listening to this whole episode super frustrated because you're like, no, because there's technical reasons why this won't work. Tell us, let us know what your thoughts are. Termite, where can they share their thoughts with us?
You can find us at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website where we have links to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. If you want to get our show on any platform that we don't exist on, let us know, and we'll put ourselves there. You can find us on Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 80bit Podsmash, all one word, 80bit Podsmash.
Yeah.
I would really, really appreciate if you specifically went to iTunes and left us a review.
Yeah.
Because that's how we get bubbled up into the discoverability algorithms for their curation software. I just use a bunch of words that might be some technical mumbo-jumbo. But basically, it's whenever a new person is looking for a video game podcast, the percentage that we will show up on their screen having not any knowledge of our existence is based on you and your review of us.
Yep.
So please go to iTunes and leave us a review.
Yep. Awesome. Reviews. And then, hop on Reddit and post your thoughts, whether you think streaming is going to be whether you're like, yeah, it's the future, it's totally going to be awesome, or no, it's ridiculous, and these are all the reasons why. We want to hear that. If you don't want to do that in a public place, then send us a Gmail or send us a Facebook message. Let us know one way or another your thoughts. Engage with us and give us your mind.
Do it.
Lend us your ears.
Do it.
All right. Well, then next week we will be talking about some cool stuff. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head what it is. I know coming up we've got a Mortal Kombat
I can't wait.
episode, so I don't know if that's next or not, but it's coming up. So
Mortal Kombat 11 beta is happening right now,
and
it's gated behind a pre-order that I'm not willing to pay.
Thanks. But until then, we will see you next week.
See you next week.